The Resendes were a Latino family living in Australia. Pretty normal, except for one detail that made them unique, especially the father, Alvaro Resendez. They were what you call flat earthers, and not just that, they considered themselves amateur scientists. As a hobby, they carried out all kinds of homemade experiments, mostly to prove, they claimed on their social media, that the Earth is flat. Until that point, as long as they weren't bothering anyone, except of course in internet forums where they got fanatical, everything was fine. But one day they decided to carry out their most ambitious experiment. Launch a weather balloon with a camera to almost the outer limit of the stratosphere, 40,000 meters high, to prove their theory that it was impossible to perceive any curvature in the Earth. The balloon rose to 41,500 meters. At that point, the balloon apparently burst, and the camera, rigorously protected for such purposes, fell to Earth equipped with a fairly simple GPS locator. The Resendes recovered it a few kilometers away and, taking it home, analyzed the footage it contained. That's when things, according to Toowoomba police records, began to get strange. Because after reviewing the video, Mr. Alvaro Resendez first fell into shock and later suffered a nervous breakdown that made him taciturn for the rest of the day, finally collapsing that night while everyone was sleeping. Alvaro Resendez attacked his wife and children with a hammer while screaming, according to the statements of Laurie Resendez, his wife and the only survivor of the attack. "They lied to us. They lied to us." The woman declared in the hospital, still in delicate condition, that Alvaro was very disappointed by the video resulting from the experiment. Apparently because the footage showed, obviously, a curvature on the horizon. And this is why the first theory of the Toowoomba police was that, affected in his psyche by the refutation of the reality he believed he lived in, his mind collapsed and he had a psychotic episode. According to several forensic psychiatrists, it makes a lot of sense. These episodes are common in people who escape from cults or undergo deprogramming. However, one of the photographic experts who worked on the case discovered something inexplicable in the footage, something surprising, and something that apparently Mr. Resendez saw before going insane. This expert, Dr. Elatal, shared the theory on some of her social media. Completely frustrated, she says when she mentioned it, her superiors mocked her, told her to shut up, and took the file away from her, of which she could only make a brief recording on the laboratory screen, which you're about to see. In it, for several seconds before the balloon burst, with the stars already in the background and in the stratosphere, you can observe something that seems organic. A kind of semi-transparent jellyfish that contorts and then crashes against the camera. Was it perhaps another balloon? Or maybe some will say an unknown life form that speculated to inhabit the stratosphere, or simply passing through the stratosphere. Did it affect the camera in some unknown way? Did it do something to it that would end up driving Mr. Resendez mad to the point of trying to kill his entire family? Many believe that, but others, more sober and measured, say that perhaps upon verifying that the Earth wasn't flat, and on top of that, seeing a strange creature, or what he believed was a creature, at the limit of the heavens, was enough to make a weak mind like Alvaro Resendez's collapse. The widow says she remembers seeing something, but her husband immediately pushed her away, and it was from there that he locked himself in his study and kept silent. A silence he only broke that night with a hammer in his hand and in the heads of his wife and 2 children. What you're about to hear is a translation from Russian of a post published on Devak, the Russian equivalent of 4chan. We came across this post a few months ago thanks to a tip from an audience member who speaks Russian, as he's married to a woman of that nationality. To that person, I give my thanks. Draw your own conclusions. I'm going to read you this post from the Russian forum, translated. Sorry to interrupt this thread about animal abuse, but reading your opinions full of grief and indignation for Laika and other animals sacrificed in the Soviet space program, I couldn't help but smile bitterly, and then cry deeply. Because I know something, because I've been silent all my life, because now I will speak. I know the Soviet space program firsthand. I was forced to participate in it. It was 1961 when uniformed men kidnapped me from my village in Levap, Turkmenistan. They took me in complete darkness in a truck to an unknown place along with other children. Some spoke Russian like me, others languages and dialects I didn't understand. From Turkmenistan, there was only me, as far as I could see. We were about 14 children between 6 and 10 years old. They locked us in a hangar full of beds and isolated us completely. They interrogated us several times, and I soon noticed something. We were all orphans. Nobody had family. We all lived in misery before the abduction. That's what we called it, pokishchenia, abduction in Russian. At first, after the fear passed, we felt lucky. They treated us well, gave us abundant food, although they forced us to do strange exercises. But that only lasted the first few months. Then the exercises became stranger, harder. One day they put me, 2 girls, and another boy in a chamber filled with steam. They left us locked in there for a time that seemed eternal. I thought I was suffocating. The 2 girls fainted, and one of them we never saw again in the Klad, the barn in Russian. Soon they started choosing us to sit in a chair that spun at a devilish speed. I didn't understand anything. I was only 8 years old. Over time, I learned it was cosmonaut training. I became friends with a boy, Anatoly. Anatoly told me they dressed him in a thick, strange suit with a helmet like a motorcycle helmet and put him in a pool. When he cried, they told him that soon he would travel to space and would be a hero of the motherland. One day, Anatoly disappeared. At dusk, I heard, perhaps a few hundred meters from the barn, a roar like an explosion and a whistle rising to the sky. Tanya, one of the girls, looked at me with terror in the twilight and said in a trembling voice, "Anatoly, they sent him to space." The children disappeared one by one. New ones arrived, ragged, some with mental disabilities, and I knew I had to escape if I wanted to live. Despite my young age, I tore off a board from the barn and ran in the darkness to a nearby truck. I hid there, and when it started, I stayed hidden for a couple of hours. Then I jumped into the field, ran, and arrived at a farm. Some elderly Orthodox Christians, very devout, took me in. They became my parents. I learned I was in Ukraine. I told them my story, and they cried, without me fully understanding why. They told me I would stay with them, but I had to use a Ukrainian name, say I was their grandson, and never speak of what happened to me. So I did. And that kidnapping and captivity in my childhood became a distant nightmare. As an adult, I heard rumors. some confirmed, about how the government used orphan children for experiments. As I knew, some, like that dog Laika you lament so much, were sent to space to die. Anonymous heroes of the frenzied space race between the Soviet Union and the United States. Everything was worth it, everything was permitted, and poor orphan children were plentiful in the Soviet republics. I know many won't believe my story. I have no solid proof, only a memory I stole from the barn, a piece of worn, broken fabric, but I always kept it. It's a patch from one of the suits I saw in the laboratories where they took us every day next to the barn back in the 60s. May the Lord have mercy on the souls of those children sent into the void. May they have reached heaven, not the heaven where they died, but the heaven of our Lord. Signed, Nikolai Ivanovich.